New apartment supply in Q3 hit a 20-year high on a trailing 12-month basis in Charlotte during Q3. That should mean that occupancy is finally coming down, right? Well, it's not. Welcome to Apartment Market Dynamics from MPF Research. I'm Jay Parsons with your Charlotte update. At this point in the cycle, apartment supply is the big story all across the country. We've been talking about that a lot in some of our U.S. videos we've released this month. Nationally, we've seen strong demand all across the country for this new supply. As a result, occupancy has continued to tick up and rent growth levels have reaccelerated. And Charlotte is a part of this national trend. Take a look at this chart showing the three markets receiving the most supply on a relative basis over the last year. Inventory growth of 6.3% in Raleigh-Durham, 5.4% in Austin, and 5.1% in Charlotte. By comparison, the U.S. average is 1.5%, and only two other markets nationally were above 3%. And so these three stood out by a big margin, and they had huge numbers of supply. And even with brisk economic growth, we expected to see demand track below supply and for occupancy to come down fairly meaningfully in these spots, but that isn't what happened. In Charlotte, as well as Austin, demand kept roughly pace with supply, so occupancy ticked up slightly. In Raleigh-Durham, it wasn't quite the same story, though still some good numbers, but occupancy there did come down 50 basis points. Here's the overall supply and demand story in Charlotte. You could see back in 2008, 2009, Charlotte had to deal with a lot of supply arriving at the wrong time, but demand never got especially weak here, and then it rebounded extremely quickly, leading to some of the nation's best revenue growth in 2010, 2011, and 2012. Demand then slowed as vacancies dwindled, and now demand is accelerating in tandem with supply. And what is remarkable, though, is that supply hit a 20-year high in Q3 2014, and demand still kept pace. And as a result, occupancy has tightened back up to 95.6%, one of the best rates on record for Charlotte, and the second best in this cycle behind only the 95.9 seen in the fall of 2012. And we do see more of a supply effect when looking at the rent trends. After posting big hikes in 2011 and 2012, rent growth has slowed. As of Q3, rents are up 2.8% year over year, which is a bit above what we've seen recently and still a very solid number, but that is about 90 basis points below the U.S. average. Charlotte is benefiting from some very strong demand drivers. You've had good job growth as some companies are relocating jobs into Charlotte. You've also seen good wage growth here. In addition, Charlotte has an ability to draw college-educated millennials preferring to rent into the metro area. That's helping keep demand strong. And so as a result of these things, that's driven demand and allowed occupancy to be in good shape and kept those rent growth numbers in solid shape. Going forward, though, supply is going to remain at these 20-year peak levels. And at some point, you have to question if Charlotte can sustain this kind of demand if we've burned through some of the pent-up demand for supply in the market at this point. And so as a result, MPF does think occupancy is to come down a bit, but not too severely, and that rent growth should remain solid but not spectacular, although we do think we could see some outperformance in Charlotte's southern submarkets and in mid-tier product overall as a result of the fact that supply really isn't that concentrated in those areas, even with some great demographics. And that's going to wrap us up for Charlotte. So until next time, for Apartment Market Dynamics and MPF Research, I'm Jay Parsons. Thank you for watching.
Want more? Go deeper with NPF Research's apartment market reports. From a national level, down to individual metros, to specific neighborhoods, NPF Research has been providing unparalleled apartment market intelligence to the multifamily industry for almost 5 decades. Learn more by contacting us at 877-284-4938 or visit www.npfresearch.com and click on Market Reports.